Welcome to the deep dive. Today we're cutting through, well, all the noise out there to focus on something really essential. Stillness.
And it's important to clarify right off the bat, we're not talking about just, finding a quiet corner for monks.
No, not at all. This is about stillness as a key, maybe the key, to performing better, thinking clearly, and finding real contentment.
Exactly. Our sources show this isn't some mystical ideal. It's a practical path used by, well, everyone from presidents and top athletes to philosophers, and yes, even busy parents trying to stay sane.
It's a tool for navigating the chaos, really, whether you're dealing with huge market shifts or just the daily grind.
Right. And the Stoic philosopher Epictetus put it beautifully, didn't he? He saw it as this almost divine task.
He did. The struggle is great. The task divine to gain mastery, freedom, happiness, and tranquility. It's about mastering yourself, fundamentally.
And what's so compelling is that this idea, this core truth about inner quiet being crucial, it pops up everywhere.
In Stoicism, obviously, but also Taoism, Buddhism.
Logos, the Tao, they all point towards the same fundamental principle, this inner stillness.
So our mission in this deep dive is to explore how we can actually access this stillness. The sources suggest we already have it.
We just bury it, right? Under layers of distraction and, frankly, noise.
Exactly. So we're going to look at this through the lens of a timeless framework, the three domains of mind, spirit, and body.
And to really grasp why stillness is so powerful, why it's maybe the key, we need a good anchor metaphor.
Let's talk about Abraham Lincoln and the Civil War, specifically the early days.
Yes. A time of incredible pressure and confusion for the Union.
Totally. You had generals, politicians, everyone shouting different plans at Lincoln, attack here, defend there. It was overwhelming.
Just a cacophony of competing strategies, egos, fear. The whole war effort was kind of paralyzed by all the options, analysis paralysis on a grand scale.
But Lincoln, who was largely self-taught in military strategy, reading old books, he brought this surprising calm.
He didn't just react to the loudest voice. He stepped back. He looked at the map.
And he pointed to one spot, Vicksburg, Mississippi. Not the obvious target, maybe.
Not a major capital city, no. But it was this fortified point controlling the Mississippi River and vital Confederate rail lines. A crucial junction.
He just cut through all that complexity, all the noise, and simplified it. He said, Vicksburg is the key.
The war can never be brought to a close until that key is in our pocket. He saw that single essential point.
And getting Vicksburg unlocked everything else. All the other strategies started to fall into place after that.
And that's the power of stillness in our lives. It's like finding your Vicksburg. It provides that clarity, that decisive point.
That lets you manage emotions, handle pressure, and pick the right action out of all the confusing possibilities.
It unlocks your capabilities. It's the key junction.
Okay, so let's dig into that first domain, mastering the domain of the mind. And the big hurdle here, as we said, is just noise.
Constant noise. And it's funny, we think of our modern world as uniquely loud, but this complaint is ancient.
Right, you mentioned Seneca, living in Rome.
Oh, yeah. He complained constantly about the noise from the public baths below his apartment. Weightlifters dropping weights.
Vendors shouting, carriages, just sheer physical cacophony.
Exactly. But his solution wasn't just to escape it physically, it was to train his mind to find quiet within the noise.
That Stoic idea of apatheia.
Right, which isn't apathy like we think of it today, but more like freedom from inner disturbance. He basically said it can be bedlam outside as long as there's no disturbance within.
Okay, so if Seneca struggled with that level of noise.
Imagine us now. The digital onslaught. Constant pings, emails, Slack, 247 news cycles, the phone buzzing every few minutes.
It's a completely different scale of potential internal disturbance, isn't it?
Absolutely. Which brings us back to Blaise Pascal writing way back in 1654.
That quote is hauntingly relevant.
All of humanity's problems stem from man's inability to sit quietly in a room alone.
And it feels like modern life is almost designed to make sitting quietly in a room feel, well, unbearable, like you're missing out.
Which is the perfect lead-in to our first big case study on mental clarity under fire, JFK and the Cuban Missile Crisis.
The 13 days. The closest the world ever came to nuclear annihilation.
The context is just staggering. They were estimating, 70 million deaths in the first exchange?
Unthinkable pressure. Existential doesn't even cover it.
And when Kennedy first got briefed about the Soviet missiles in Cuba, the immediate reaction from his advisors was almost unanimous.
Strike now. Full-scale military assault. Immediately.
It's that primal logic, isn't it? Aggression meets aggression. Act decisively. Don't look weak.
But Kennedy, He resisted that knee-jerk reaction, and crucially, he'd just been reading.
Barbara Tuchman's The Guns of August.
Yes, which detailed exactly how leaders in 1914, full of confidence and urgency, stumbled into World War I.
That book became a mental anchor for him. It warned him against the neat, plausible, but likely wrong solution. The easy, obvious, aggressive answer.
He suspected his first instinct and the advisor's instinct might be wrong. And we can actually see him working through this, forcing stillness.
In his private notes.
Yeah, handwritten notes. He'd repeat words like missile, 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 or consensus, consensus. Almost like a mantra to focus.
And he doodled sailboats.
Little sailboats on a legal pad. Trying to calm his own nervous system, pull his mind back from the brink of panic.
And here's where that forced stillness led to brilliance. He paused the rush. He asked a different question.
Why would the Russians do this?
He engaged in empathy, tried to see it from the Kremlin's perspective.
Yeah.
Realized Khrushchev likely felt weak, maybe threatened by U.S. missiles in Turkey.
That step back, that moment of seeing the other side, it changed everything.
It allowed him to consider options other than just immediate attack, which led to the quarantine idea.
A naval blockade, basically.
Yeah.
Less aggressive than an airstrike, and critically.
It bought time, used time as a strategic tool, gave both sides room to think, to negotiate, to step back.
He navigated maybe the highest pressure situation in human history by refusing to be rushed, by finding that inner stillness.
Like Marcus Aurelius said, being like the rock that the waves keep crashing over. The mind stays steady.
Or the Taoist image. You don't clear muddy water by stirring it more.
You let it settle. Stillness allows clarity to emerge. Kennedy let the strategic waters settle.
Okay, so how do we cultivate that kind of clarity in our own, hopefully less world-ending lives? First, practical discipline. Limit your inputs.
We have to be ruthless gatekeepers of our own attention, our mental space.
There's a great historical example here with Napoleon.
Ah, yes. The mail delay tactic.
He told his secretary to hold most of his mail for 3 weeks.
His logic being that by the time he saw it, many of the so-called urgent problems would have sorted themselves out.
Or revealed themselves to be unimportant. It filtered the noise from the truly essential signals.
He only wanted to be woken for genuinely bad news, right? Things that required immediate strategic attention. Everything else could wait.
It proves how much of what feels urgent is just noise. Or maybe someone else's priority trying to become yours.
And Eisenhower formalized this idea with his famous matrix.
Urgent versus important.
Exactly. He realized most of the truly important strategic work wasn't actually urgent. And if you only ever react to the urgent.
You never get to the important stuff. You're always putting out fires, never building the fire station.
Perfectly put. So for us today, limiting inputs means consciously designing our digital lives. Turning off notifications.
Setting specific times to check email or Slack, not letting it interrupt constantly.
Being selective about news sources, about the drama we let in. It's like Dorothy Day's advice back then. Turn off the radio.
Our phone is the modern radio, constantly blaring.
We need to turn it off sometimes and read books, seek wisdom, create space for strategic thought, not just reaction.
Okay, next, mental discipline. This one feels paradoxical. Empty the mind. The power of the void.
Right. This terrifies a lot of high achievers because we equate thinking harder with better results. But sometimes the opposite is true.
Look at Sean Green, the baseball player. He was in a terrible slump.
Then hitting a 90-mile-per-hour fastball, it's already incredibly difficult. You have milliseconds to react.
If your head is full of thoughts, am I going to strike out again? What of my contract? Everyone's watching, you're done.
Yogi Berra nailed it. It's impossible to hit and think at the same time. Thinking gets in the way.
So Green turned to Zen practice. He focused on emptying his mind.
Instead of analyzing his swing more, he repeated that Zen phrase, chop wood, carry water. Just focus on the simple task. Let the training, the muscle memory, take over.
Remove the ego, the fear, the overthinking.
And boom, he hits 4 home runs in one game. A historic performance directly linked to achieving mental quiet.
But the lesson doesn't stop there, does it?
No, because then the other kind of noise starts. The praise, the expectations, the streak voice, that's just as disruptive.
He had to keep emptying his mind, even in success. There's no sense in thinking now, protecting that inner space from both failure and success chatter.
The Tao Te Ching explains this beautifully, doesn't it? The usefulness of a pitcher or a bowl comes from its emptiness.
From what's not there, we need that mental void for instinct and training to operate freely.
It's why Roseanne Cash had that sign in her recording studio. Abandon thought, all ye who enter here. You need to get out of your head to perform at your best.
Okay, final mental discipline. Become present. We hear this all the time, but what does it really mean in practice?
It means actively fighting off every single distraction, pulling you away from the here and now. Think about Marina Abramovich.
The artist is present,
Mm.
sitting silently, motionless, for hundreds of hours.
750 hours over nearly 80 days, just sitting, looking at strangers.
To do that, she had to ignore everything.
Huh?
Physical discomfort, boredom, the audience, her own thoughts.
She had to be purely, totally present for the person sitting opposite her, giving them her complete, undivided attention. That's presence.
And most of us, let's be honest, are almost never truly present in our daily lives.
We're constantly elsewhere, replaying the past, worrying about the future, missing the subtleties of the moment.
Taking photos of the sunset instead of just watching the sunset, making mental to-do lists during dinner.
The sources define the real present moment as the duration for which we can consciously push away thoughts of the past or future. It's an active skill.
And the best leaders, the best artists, the best parents, they have this ability to be completely there.
The good news, though, is that the present moment is always arriving. It keeps giving you another chance, second by second.
But even mastering the mind isn't the whole picture, is it? If your inner core is shaky.
Exactly. Mental control is vital, but it won't hold if your spirit is in turmoil. Which brings us to that second crucial domain, the spirit.
Okay, moving from the mind's clarity to the heart's harmony. The domain of the spirit. Stillness here feels even more fundamental, maybe.
It has to be. Because as Martin Luther King Jr. put it, there's that violent civil war raging within each and every person. If that's going on, external calm is just a mask.
Mental focus can crumble pretty quickly if your spirit is conflicted or, well, unhappy. And the example used here is powerful, if tragic. Tiger Woods.
Yeah. Tiger achieved this almost superhuman level of mental control on the golf course. Peak performance, dominance.
He looked like the absolute picture of stillness under pressure.
But internally, a completely different story. Sources describe deep inner turmoil, stemming largely from his relationship with his father.
That pressure eventually led to that huge public implosion, didn't it?
It did. Because the stillness on the course was, in some ways, built on a foundation of spiritual. Poverty isn't too strong a word.
His father, Earl Woods, used these intense methods to toughen him up.
Called them prisoner of war interrogation techniques. Psychological warfare, basically. Deliberately distracting him, trying to break him.
And the most telling detail is that code word.
Enough. Tiger could say enough to make the intense training stop.
But saying it was framed as weakness, as quitting. He learned very early on that he could never be enough, never feel sufficient if he wanted approval or success.
That core wound, never feeling like he was enough, drove that relentless compulsion for more. Winning wasn't enough.
He said winning was fun, but beating someone's even better. That reveals a lot about the inner state.
That spiritual lack manifested in all sorts of destructive ways. Affairs, yes, but also seeking out incredibly risky Navy SEAL training.
Which actually caused physical injuries that impacted his career. It was escapism, but also maybe a way to feel something or prove something.
Possibly. But you see the conflict. Mentally strong enough to dominate the sport, but spiritually weak enough to sabotage himself and seek external validation constantly. The inner fire of not enough consumed the mental stillness.
Which leads us straight to the first spiritual imperative for finding true stillness.
Choose virtue.
And this isn't just about being nice, it's about choosing moral integrity as your operating system.
The Stoics called virtue the summum bonum.
The highest good. Their argument was that if you ground yourself in virtue, honesty, justice, courage, moderation, your choices become easier. There's less internal conflict.
Because you know what the right thing is. That self-command brings tranquility.
We saw a flash of this with Jagmeet Singh, the Canadian politician, when confronted by that really aggressive protester.
He didn't fight back or run. He centered himself. He repeated, love and courage. Those virtues became his anchor in that storm, and it calmed the situation. Virtue provided stability.
Now contrast that with Seneca himself.
Right. The man wrote brilliantly about virtue and tranquility, but his actions.
He chased power, incredible wealth, served the monstrous Emperor Nero.
He compromised his own philosophy. He clearly didn't live as if virtue was truly enough. That internal conflict between his words and his ambition created anxiety, and ultimately Nero had him killed.
Your actions have to align with your values for real stillness. Otherwise, it's just hypocrisy creating inner tension.
Precisely. The second spiritual imperative, beware desire. especially the powerful ones like lust and envy.
JFK, for all his crisis leadership, his persistent womanizing, even during the missile crisis,
Yeah.
it showed a lack of inner mastery, didn't it?
A man enslaved by his urges isn't truly free, no matter his external power. But maybe the more common corrosive desire for most of us isn't overt lust.
It's envy.
Yes, the lust for what other people have. Joseph Epstein called it the only deadly sin that's no fun at all.
Because it offers no pleasure, only immediate self-inflicted pain. You want what they have, resent them for having it, and feel insecure about what you do have.
It's just a recipe for constant misery, a total absence of stillness.
So how do we combat these desires? Epicurus had a test.
A brilliant one. Before you chase a strong desire, ask yourself 2 questions. What will happen to me if I actually get what I want?
And, crucially, how will I feel after I get it?
By thinking through the consequences, the potential hangover, the regret, the emptiness after the thrill fades, the desire loses some of its immediate irrational power. That foresight creates space, creates stillness.
Okay, next. Accept a higher power. This one can be tricky for people.
It definitely can. It brings up religious connotations. But think about it in the context of recovery programs like AA's Step 2, admitting a power greater than ourselves.
It's notoriously difficult, but essential for recovery.
And it's not necessarily about God in a traditional sense. It's about surrender. It's about acknowledging deep down that you are not in control of everything. You are not God.
We fight so hard to control everything, don't we? Outcomes, other people's opinions, the future.
It's exhausting and ultimately futile. That internal battle against reality is a major source of turmoil.
So accepting a higher power or fate or the natural order of things, what the Stoics called logos or the Taoists called the Tao.
It brings stillness because you stop fighting unwinnable battles for absolute control. You accept what you can't control and focus your energy on your response, which you can control.
It's fascinating that both Lincoln and Kennedy were reportedly agnostic or even atheist earlier in life.
Turned towards faith during their greatest trials, the Civil War, the missile crisis. When facing annihilation, the idea that you're solely in charge or that there's nothing bigger than you, it's maybe too brittle.
Crisis can force that surrender, that acceptance.
Absolutely. And the final piece for spiritual stillness is embracing all as one, the Greek concept of sympathia.
The idea that everything is interconnected.
Right. Think of astronaut Edgar Mitchell looking back at Earth from space. He described this feeling of instant global consciousness, seeing humanity and the planet as one fragile, interconnected system.
We're all strands in the same rope, essentially.
Our joys, our sufferings, they're linked. The parent worrying about their child, the person grieving a loss, the stranger facing hardship. There's a shared human experience.
And recognizing this connection combats that isolating self-absorption that often fuels anxiety.
Robert Greene talks about cultivating Mitfreud, finding joy in others' success, instead of Schadenfreude, taking pleasure in their misfortune.
Because if we're all connected, their success is, in a way, our success. Their suffering is ours too.
Exactly. The sense of shared consciousness, of sympathia, quiets the ego, reduces the sense that my problems are the only problems, and brings a deep, quiet peace.
Okay, we've covered the mind and the spirit. Now for the third leg of the stool, the most tangible domain, governing the domain of the body.
Because ultimately, our physical state impacts everything else. The body keeps score, as they say.
You can't think clearly or feel spiritually centered if your body is constantly stressed, exhausted, or living in chaos.
Makes sense. So, where do we start with the body? Interestingly, the first discipline here is about not doing something.
To say no. The art of non-action, or wu-wei.
It sounds passive, but it's actually a powerful form of action. Look at Fabius Maximus back in ancient Rome.
The delayer.
Yeah.
Facing Hannibal's seemingly invincible army.
Everyone wanted him to attack, go head-to-head, but Fabius refused. He said no to the immediate, risky battle.
Instead, he used delaying tactics, harassed Hannibal's supply lines, wore him down slowly. His refusal to act impulsively saved Rome.
He waited for the right moment, the right pitch, you could say, which ties into the baseball analogy.
Right, the rookies.
Yeah.
They come up swinging at everything because that's how they got there.
But in the big leagues, they have to learn wu-wei the discipline to not swing at bad pitches, to wait patiently for the one they can drive. Saying no to the wrong opportunity is crucial.
And in our lives, the pressure is often to say yes to everything. That fear of missing out or the fear of an empty calendar, like Joan Rivers described.
She was terrified of downtime, equated it with being forgotten, so she just kept doing, doing, doing,
Right.
likely to the point of exhaustion.
We have to realize what we're spending when we say yes constantly. It's not just time on a schedule.
It's your flesh and blood, as one source puts it. Time is life energy that you never get back. Saying no strategically creates the space needed for rest, reflection, and true stillness.
If you don't protect that space, busyness and chaos will always rush in to fill it.
Absolutely. Which leads directly to the next point. Build a routine and go to sleep. Sounds basic, I know.
But incredibly powerful. Think about Fred Rogers, Mr. Rogers, his daily rituals.
Zipping the cardigan, changing the shoes. It wasn't just quirky, it was a deliberate routine.
It created structure, a predictable container for his day. That freed up his mental energy for the important work connecting with children, being creative.
He wasn't wasting brain power on mundane decisions each morning. The routine handled that.
And Churchill. Despite the immense pressure of wartime leadership and writing millions of words,
He was fiercely protective of his routine and his energy. That famous quote, "Never stand up when you can sit down, and never sit down when you can lie down."
he wasn't lazy. He was conserving energy for where it mattered. His day included long baths, focused writing periods, and that non-negotiable afternoon nap.
That disciplined routine allowed for incredible output and sustained performance under pressure. Rest wasn't a luxury, it was part of the work.
Now contrast that with the cautionary tale of Dov Charney, the founder of American Apparel.
A truly stark example of what happens when you neglect rest. He pushed himself into extreme sleep deprivation.
Mixing instant coffee with cold water just to stay conscious.
Sources say this chronic lack of sleep made him cognitively impaired, like being drunk. His judgment tanked, he became volatile, took huge risks.
And here's the vicious cycle. The exhaustion led to bad decisions and created more crises.
Which he then tried to solve by working even harder, getting even less sleep, leading to total collapse. The overworked mind becomes its own worst enemy.
It's the opposite of the Zen master Hakuin, who slept soundly even with a major deadline looming.
Because he knew deep down that brilliance and insight come from a rested, calm mind, not a frantic, exhausted one. Sleep is foundational for stillness.
Okay, moving beyond rest to movement. Let's talk physical activities for stillness, starting with the simple act of walking.
So many great thinkers were obsessive walkers. Kierkegaard said he walked away from illness and into his best thoughts.
Nietzsche, Tesla, Darwin, they all relied on walks for thinking and breakthroughs.
It's not just about fresh air. The physical movement itself seems to help. It breaks you out of mental loops, gets blood flowing, lets the subconscious mind work on problems.
Kierkegaard thought sitting still too much was actually bad for you, physically and mentally.
Movement clears the head. Simple but effective. Another key physical aspect is having a hobby, engaging in real leisure.
The Greeks called it skole. Not just vegging out, but
Freedom for something. For activities that engage you intellectually or creatively, but aren't your main work.
Churchill again is a great example. His antidotes to stress and depression.
Bricklaying and oil painting.
Seems random, but think about them. Bricklaying is slow, methodical, requires physical focus, takes you completely out of your head.
And painting is visual, silent, uses a different part of the brain. The key, according to the sources, is that these hobbies should be done for their own sake.
Not for productivity or status, just for pure enjoyment. That's what nourishes the soul. Mindless scrolling doesn't do that. It just drains you more.
Exactly. Hobbies replenish, escapism depletes. Next, the importance of actively seeking solitude.
General Mattis talked about this. Leaders need solitude to think prospectively, to reflect, while everyone else is just reacting.
It allows you to get ahead of the curve, make better decisions, rather than just responding to the latest crisis.
Leonardo da Vinci's little fable about the stone is relevant here too.
Oh, right. The stone that was happy and peaceful in the quiet grove.
But regretted moving to the busy road where it just got kicked around and worn down by constant traffic.
Solitude is like finding that quiet grove, away from the constant traffic of social demands and interruptions. It's essential for clear thinking.
And it's not just about physically being alone in the woods, is it? Thomas Merton's insight.
That the truly wise learn to carry solitude inside themselves, even when they return to the world. It's an internal state you cultivate.
An inner quiet space you can access even amidst noise.
Precisely. Okay, last physical habit, and this one might surprise some people. Get rid of your stuff.
Embracing carefree ownership sounds countercultural.
It is, but the Stoics were all over this. Epictetus, who had been a slave, had this expensive iron lamp stolen.
What did he do? Replace it with a cheap clay one.
His reasoning: a man can only lose what he has. By owning less, or owning things he cared less about, he reduced his anxiety. Less to worry about, less to maintain, less to lose.
We all fall victim to comfort creep, though, thinking we need the newer, better, bigger thing.
And our minds trick us into believing it brings happiness, when often it just brings more stress, maintenance, insurance, fear of loss.
The ancient philosopher Sun Tzu put it perfectly. The gentleman makes things his servants. The petty man is servant to things.
When our possessions own us, demanding our time, money, and mental energy, they become chains. They take up space we could use for relationships, experiences, or just peace of mind.
So the best stuff is the stuff you don't worry about.
Exactly. Less baggage, physical and mental, equals more stillness.
Okay, so we've journeyed through mind, spirit, and body. The key takeaway seems to be that stillness isn't isolated to one area. It's holistic.
Absolutely. You can't just meditate your way to peace if your life is chaos or your values are compromised. You have to align all three domains. Think clearly, choose wisely, live simply.
It's about moving and living your way towards stillness, integrating these practices.
A momentary insight isn't enough. It requires consistent effort across the board, focus, wisdom, discipline. Which brings us to the final, perhaps most critical point. You have to act bravely.
What does that mean in this context?
It means stillness isn't the end goal in itself. It's the foundation that enables right action. The ancient Greeks believed we're inherently good. The goal of life, eudaimonia, is to live that goodness out.
Be natural meant do the right thing. Stillness gives you the clarity and courage to actually do it.
But doing the right thing is often hard. Think of that character Clemence in Camus's novel The Fall.
The lawyer who hears a woman drowning walks away and is tormented forever by his inaction.
He lacked the inner stillness, the conviction, perhaps the courage to act in that crucial moment. His inaction destroyed his peace.
Now, contrast that with a real person, the philosopher Anne de Formentel.
She wrote about risk and commitment. And then, tragically, she lived it. She died trying to save children caught in rough surf, children who weren't even hers.
She acted on her ideals, embodying conviction through brave action. That's stillness manifesting outwardly.
A person whose actions contradict their conscience, who chooses selfishness or cowardice. They'll never find true stillness no matter how quiet their surroundings. Marcus Aurelius said it, moving from one unselfish act to another.
Only there can we find delight in stillness.
The internal work, clearing the mind, aligning the spirit, disciplining the body, it's all preparation. Preparation for what?
To act well, to serve, to protect, to stand up for what's right when the moment comes. The inner stillness has to translate into outward action.
Otherwise, it's just navel-gazing. It's not enough to just appreciate the journey intellectually. Churchill's final words resonate here.
The journey has been enjoyable and well worth making. Once he lived it.
Yeah.
Fully.
So the final thought we want to leave you, the listener, with isn't just about how to find stillness. It's about what you will do with it.
What is that one difficult, brave, good thing that you know deep down you need to do? The action that will test your mind, spirit, and body?
Because pursuing that action, however challenging, might be the truest path to the lasting peace and self-respect that stillness promises. That's the real work.